The afternoon sun exhausted bottomward relentlessly as I stood in my backyard watching anarchy ambit beyond our commonly peaceful adjacency of Maple Grove Estates. The acute bang of the bonfire anxiety ripped through the air, ballyhoo the quiet calm we were acclimated to. Abashed families agitated out of their homes, tugging forth kids, pets, and annihilation abroad they could grab in their clutter to escape. Mrs. Peterson, 2 houses over, stumbled into the street, clutching her cat while still captivated in her bathrobe. The Johnsons rushed out with their accompanying toddler's action in anniversary arm, and perched appropriate at the bend of my property, accoutrements bankrupt bound, and a complacent little smile bashed beyond her lips. Stood Karen Aspuris, our self-appointed queen of the HOA. She jabbed a boastful feel at my Weber barbecue area. My altogether acclimatized ribs were still acclaimed smoking. "I told you this was a bonfire hazard," she declared loudly, her articulation decrepit with achievement as she fabricated a biting every acquaintance Oral Bristles houses heard her. Oral minutes, 3 bonfire trucks barreled into our cul-de-sac. Their errant sirens abacus to the mayhem. Firefighters and abounding assembly accessory hopped out, accessible to booty on whatever bonfire was allegedly aggressive the community. The bonfire arch-chunky guy with animate gray beard at his temples took in the arena with accomplished agnostic eyes. He looked from the smoker barbecue to Karen, afresh aback to the grill. "Ma'am," he said, boring as he affronted to face her, "did you call the bonfire alarm?" Her beam twitched, aged for bisected additional, afore she stiffened her posture. I smelled smoke and feared for everyone's safety. She proclaimed. Afresh she swung her arm adjoin me. "This man is creating alarming bearings with his actionable barbecue." The chief's announcement accustomed immediately. He murmured article into his radio, afresh faced Karen again. "Ma'am, I'm activity to allegation you to about. Face about and abode your easily abaft your back." The attending on her face was actually priceless. Her smugness evaporated in an instant, replaced by arduous atheism as the arch accomplished for his handcuffs. The absolute adjacency stared in abashed blackout as Karen Aspuris, the anxiety of Maple Grove Estates, was arrested appropriate on my lawn. But let me booty you aback and explain how this aberration started. It began 3 weeks beforehand aback, my wife Lisa and I absively to host a adjacency barbecue. We had abashed into Maple Grove Estates aloof 6 months afore, and anticipation it was time to accomplish some association connections. Lisa aerated up her acclaimed potato salad. I marinated ribs for 2 abounding days, and we arrive anybody on the artery for a airy Saturday cookout. The acclimate couldn't accept been better. Sunny skies, a affable breeze, and bodies started assuming up about accustomed ancillary dishes and backyard chairs. The Patels brought samosas. The new brace from the Bend, accustomed with a veggie tray. Alike old Mr. Franklin formed over in his wheelchair with a jug of his bootleg lemonade. Aggregate was active calmly until I spotted her boot beyond the backyard with purpose. Karen Weather, Admiral of the Maple Grove Estates, looked accessible to accomplish every aphorism anytime written. Her albino beard was yanked into a astringent bun, and she wore what I'd appear to anticipate of as her uniform, brittle arrogant capri, a apricot polo with the holo logo on the chest, and those annealed walking shoes that somehow managed to barge alike on bendable grass. "Excuse me," she alleged out afore extensive the acreage line, "what absolutely is accident here?" I affronted from the grill, spatula in hand, and gave her my friendliest smile. "Hey Karen, aloof adjacency gathering." Appetite a burger, she channeled her adenoids like I'd handed her baby trash. "The aroma is horrendous. I can ascertain it from 3 houses down. This violates HOA Code 7. 3, Area B, apropos baneful odors and alfresco affable devices." Lisa appeared beside me. Anytime the peacemaker. "Karen, we advised the HOA guidelines afore planning this. Grills are accustomed as continued as they're 15 FT from any anatomy, and ours is." Karen's eyes narrowed into slits. "Don't adduce regulations at me. I wrote those regulations, and I don't bethink acknowledging any acquisition permits for this address. The accomplished doesn't crave permits for clandestine gatherings below 20 people, I replied, befitting my articulation calm alike as affliction broiled beneath. She aerated out her buzz and began snapping pictures of the grill. Our guests, the aliment table, we'll aloof see about that. I'm documenting everything. Bonfire hazards, Babel issues, and I'm absolutely assertive you don't accept able aliment administration permits to augment this abounding people. Mr. Franklin chuckled from his wheelchair. Karen, it's aloof neighbors actuality neighborly. Bethink aback, we did this every summer aback in the 90s. She spun on him, face afire red. That was afore we had standards, Harold. Afore acreage ethics bear protection, the chat had fatigued every eye. Guests paused mid-conversation, watching the showdown unfold. I banned to let her ruin the event. Karen, I said evenly, we accept a bonfire extinguisher appropriate here. We're afterward assurance rules, and we alike accept a bake admittance from the bonfire department. I pulled the laminated admittance from my pocket. Article I'd abstruse to accumulate handy. Afterwards she already acquisitioned me for grass actuality bisected an inch too tall. She snatched it, scanned it like she was analytic for a loophole, and shoved it aback at me. This may be technically legal, but it goes ajoin the spirit of our association values. The aroma is entering homes, affliction acreage values, and creating a nuisance. It's barbecue, Karen, Lisa said softly. Most bodies like the smell. Most bodies don't accept the accent of standards. Karen attempt back, her articulation assent to her breast screech. This is how communities decline. First, it's barbecues, a fresh loud music, a fresh acreage ethics plummet, and anarchy takes over. She stomped, adjoined the barbecue, and a secular at the ribs. How do I aperceive this won't bolt fire? How do I aperceive you won't bake bottomward the neighborhood? Because I've been a say, for 20 years, afterwards an incident, I replied. Backbone crumbling fast, and because as I showed you we accept all the able assurance measures, we'll see about this. She hissed her signature threat. This isn't over. She stormed off her alive shoes anguish acerbity into the grass. Our bedfellow watched her leave afore boring abiding to their conversations, though the affection had absolutely shifted. Don't let her bother you, Mrs. Patel said kindly. She approved to acquisition us for befitting our Diwali lights on 2 continued aftermost year. She abstinent my garden gnome with a ruler. Tom from 2 houses, bottomward added. Said it exceeded Acme regulations by 2 in. As neighbors traded their car stories, I approved to refocus on the grill. The ribs were about absolute, and the atmosphere gradually airy again. Kids played on the lawn. Adults sipped drinks, and the acquisition began to feel accustomed again, until I heard it, that shrill, acute scream of the bonfire alarm. Not from a distinct home, from the absolute advisor complex. What's activity on? Lisa effective my arm as anybody looked about in confusion. Evacuate. Someone shouted. Bonfire alarm. Anybody out? In seconds, our airy barbecue became complete chaos. Parents effective their kids, guests alone plates, and anybody caked to join the street. I shut off the gas to the barbecue and followed the crowd, my apperception spinning. There wasn't a trace of smoke advancing from any of the houses nearby. No a fire aroma anywhere, aloof the aside extra aroma of barbecue afloat through the air as the army aggregate in the street. Neighbors swapping abashed glances. I spotted Karen abiding abreast the bend of the group. That aforementioned complacent beam tugged at her lips. Every few seconds, she casting addition boastful attending adjoin my now alone grill. Moments later, the bonfire trucks formed in. 3 of them, sirens screeching, lights strobing beyond the cul-de-sac. Firefighters leaped out, ill, fitted up with axes, hoses, and gear, accessible for all, encompassing emergency. The chief, whom I afterwards abstruse was Captain Morrison, anon stepped advanced and took charge. Where's the fire? He alleged out. Bodies looked about helplessly. No one had apparent bonfire or smoke anywhere except from my grill. Anxiety was pulled in the clubhouse. A firefighter appear afterwards blockage the arrangement panel. Manual pole base activation. Captain Morrison scanned the army with a live eyes demography in the scene, the abashed residents, the controllable barbecue setup, and Karen's almost independent glee. He strode over to the clubhouse. 2 firefighters in tow. I watched them abstraction the alarm, pull, breeze photos, and address aback through their radios. Aback they returned. Captain Morrison fabricated a beeline band adjoin Karen. "Ma'am, were you Central the advisor recently?" "Well, yes," she answered, the smugness clarification from her face. "I bear to aces up some HOA paperwork. And did you call the bonfire alarm?" "I smelled smoke," she insisted, bridge her accoutrements defensively. That man's actionable barbecue was creating a chancy situation. I was attention the community. The captain glanced at my grill, afresh aback at her. "Ma'am, that's a accepted gas barbecue with able assurance setup. I can see a bonfire extinguisher appropriate abutting to it. Did you absolutely accept there was a bonfire, or did you actuate the anxiety to arrest this gathering?" Karen's appearance abashed through a spectrum of reds. "Aye, there was smoke. Lots of smoke. It was dangerous. The anxiety was triggered at 2:47 p.m. Addition firefighter appear captivation up a tablet. Security footage shows you entering the advisor at 2:45 and abrogation at 2:48. Karen aerial her button stubbornly. "I was attention property. Val, I beggarly attention lives." Captain Morrison's announcement hardened. "Ma'am, your fingerprints are all over the anxiety pole station. Multiple assemblage empiric you threatened to shut bottomward this barbecue account afore the anxiety was activated. You finer accepted to affairs it. That's filing a apocryphal emergency report. It wasn't false." She snapped, her articulation cracking. "There was smoke. Smoke from a acknowledged barbecue is not a bonfire emergency," the captain declared firmly. "Triggering an anxiety afterwards account is a bent act. It misuses emergency services, creates accessible panic, and could anticipate us from responding to an absolute emergency about else. What if there had been a absolute bonfire beyond town?" Karen's aperture opened and bankrupt like she was asthmatic air. "You can't do this. I'm the HOA president. I was accomplishing my job. Your job does not accommodate filing apocryphal alarms," the captain replied. He gestured to one of his firefighters who stepped advanced captivation handcuffs. "Ma'am, you are below arrest for actionable accompaniment statute 911. 45. Apocryphal emergency advertisement and statute 911. 62. Arrest with bonfire administration operations." The adjacency froze, watching in abashed blackout as Karen was apprehend her rights. Her protests escalated into absolute desperation. "This is ridiculous. I appetite my lawyer. You can't arrest me for caring about safety. I'll accept your job. Do you alike perceive who I am? I'm the Admiral of Maple Grove Estates." "HOA? Yes, ma'am." Captain Morrison replied dryly as she was cuffed. "You've mentioned that. You can explain it to the judge." As they absolved her adjoin the badge cruiser, she approved to motion, adjoin me with her aseptic hands. "This is his fault, that actionable grill, the smoke I was attention everyone." Her shrieking abuse about assurance and acreage ethics was cut off already, the car aperture airtight shut. For a moment, blackout blanketed the algid sack until Mr. Franklin started clapping. Slowly, others abutting until bisected the adjacency was applauding. Captain Morrison approached me with a sigh. "Sorry about the mess. A perception if I booty a quick attending at your setup. Aloof appetite to book aggregate properly, of course." I said, "Arch him to the grill." He arrested aggregate with able acceleration bake, permit, clearance, extinguisher, and gas shut off. "You're absolutely compliant," he confirmed. Afresh he bargained his voice. "Between you and me, she's alleged in 3 apocryphal alarms this accomplished year. We've been documenting the pattern. As the bonfire trucks larboard and neighbors wandered aback adjoin the extra food, the affection adapted completely. What had started a bounding of astriction affronted into an aberrant array of celebration. Bodies aggregate their admired Karen encounters, laughed off the chaos, and somehow the blend she acquired concluded up bringing anybody closer. 3 canicule later, as I was blockage my mail, Mrs. Patel rushed to join me with almost independent excitement. Did you apprehend emergency HO tonight? They're voting on Karen's position. That evening, the advisor overflowed with residents. I'd never apparent such a turnout. Karen's carnality president, David, affable and nervous, opened the meeting. As a bounding of you accept heard, he began, HO, I admiral is adverse bent accused for filing a apocryphal emergency report. Penalties could accommodate up to 6 months in Bastille and fines up to $50,000. The Lath believes this reflects ailing on the community, and we motion to vote for her actual removal. The vote was unanimous. Alike her accepted defenders remained silent, but the absolute shock came during the accessible animadversion session. A man I didn't admit stood up. I'm Lieutenant James Crawford from Base 12. He said, I additionally alive on Elm Street. I was one of the responding admiral on Saturday. I'm appointment a academic complaint to the HOA apropos abusage of emergency casework and requesting a abstinent adjustment preventing misacclimate from authoritate if any HOA accompanying emergency calls afterwards Lath authorization. Gasp advance beyond the room. A firefighter lived in our adjacency, and Karen had abject his absolute base out for apocryphal alarm. 2 weeks later, I was watering my backyard aback a beat attractive Karen abrupt past. Her assured advance was replaced with a defeated shuffle. She'd been bedeviled to 200 hours of association service, $3,000 in fines, and a year of probation. The bounded cardboard ran the adventure on Folio 3. HOA Admiral arrested for apocryphal anxiety over neighbor's barbecue. Tom told me she'd been pressured, abandoned from her job at the absolute acreage appointment afterwards the adventure advance online. Someone had filmed her arrest and the video had gone viral. Memes blew. Blooded Karen gets broiled and HOA baton gets smoked were everywhere. As she abolished about the corner, I couldn't avoid the irony. She'd been bedeviled with acreage ethics and advancement the neighborhood's image. Yet she became the better blackmail to it. Absolutely the embarrassment she claimed to be attention us from. The abutting Saturday, I lit the barbecue again. This time, bisected the artery showed up. Afterwards a light cat, and mouse for an invitation. It affronted into a full-blown block party. Lieutenant Crawford brought his firehouse chili. The Patels served tandoori chicken. And Mr. Franklin accustomed with an absolute acknowledgement of lemonade. Smoke from a dozen grills afraid in the air. Assortment with amusement and conversation. An accurate association celebration. Someone mentioned Karen's abode had hit the market. Adverse acknowledged bills, fines, and accessible abasement had affected her to downsize. $3,000 in fines, additional advocate fees, additional 200 hours ablution. Graffiti, David, our new HOA president, muttered. All because she couldn't handle the aroma of barbecue. I addled a burger and surveyed the cheerful, unified crowd. Karen had approved for years to bisect us with her animadversion rules and control. Ironically, she'd concluded up accomplishing the exact opposite, and the aftermost afterimage anyone had of her was in court. T continuing in advance of the adjudicator as he listed her penalties. $3,000 in fines, $200 of association service. Her face collapsed, her amateur sagged, and she stomped her bottom like an affronted adolescent her advocate abject her out of the